At Raising Financial Freedom, we're on a mission to inspire and empower financial freedom to every parent so that they can pass it along to their children. Through engaging stories, expert advice, and actionable tips, our podcast is transforming lives and helping listeners take control of their financial futures. Your support helps us produce high-quality, impactful episodes, expand our reach to underserved communities, and keep this life-changing content free for everyone. Whether it's $5, $10, or any amount, every donation fuels our mission and makes a difference. You can donate by clicking the heart-shaped link next to the social icons or the link at the bottom of the show notes. Once again, thank you for supporting Raising Financial Freedom and joining us in creating a world where financial freedom is within everyone's reach. Together, we can make a difference.
Today on episode 5, we have an entrepreneur making big changes and improvements in education, all at the same time while her daughter is taking her on an entrepreneurial ride.
Dad, hurry up and turn on the music.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have it all financially? Do well-off parents simply hand their children money? Or is there more to this wealth thing? Welcome to Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast. We are here to talk about everything you never knew to teach your children when it comes to starting their financial future. The principles behind wealth and methods that are out there to teach your child about personal financial freedom. There is no real trick to earning other than learning. We are here to discuss, teach, and grow with you. Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast, with your host and concerned parent, Eric Yard. Let us get right into today's show.
Hello, everybody. I would like to welcome Chelsea Robberson to the show. Chelsea, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying the round of screaming and applause.
I wanted to start it off right.
Now set a standard. I'm going to walk into any room, guest on any podcast, and I would please screaming applause.
So I'm glad you found me. When I was reading your bio and what you do, this is so unique. I was like, I am so happy that you found me. Let's get into that. Tell our listeners exactly what you do and how you do it.
It's constantly evolving. So if there's exactly what I do, I think it's broad, but I had been directing in early education for a long time. And then the school I was at was a victim of COVID. So our school closed and I transitioned into full-time consulting and things like that. I'd been doing a little bit before. And then took the forced opportunity to transfer fully into consulting. So I think what's unique about it is I am an educator at heart. I have been an educator for forever. So I take that, and what my passion is to partner with education innovators or companies, things like that, and help them do it better, bring some strategy to their passion, because everybody has so much passion for educating the next generation. And I just want to partner with them to help them continue moving forward in their mission. I don't really need to be number one, as long as the overall mission of education is moving forward. I don't really care where I sit on that chart.
All right. Your website is Leland Growth.
Yeah, Leland Growth.
So what inspired you to start Leland Growth?
I always had it in the back burner of my brain. I've been doing some pieces here and there, but never really pushed forward full throttle with it. I owned the domain for about 2 years before I ever published it. So I'm paying for this and just letting it live there. Like, I can't do it. I don't really. And when I lost my role due to COVID and, had this opportunity to do something, I was like, you know what, I think I'm maybe going to pursue what I've been wanting to do for a while. And it was actually my brother who kept pushing me. And it was, hey, is your website published? Hey, is your website published? Hey, is your website published? Because to me, that was it's for real now. You're telling people about it. If you start telling people about it, then, there's,
your foot's in the door.
Own it. And so I kept saying, I don't know, I need to change this. I need to do that. I really need to fix this and whatever. And so he introduced me to the concept of minimum viable product, right? MVP. do you have a minimum viable product that you can release? And I was like, no. And of course he's like, yeah, I feel like you do. Anyway, that was what pushed me. Was I'd had this burning in my brain for 2 years. And now I've had this forced opportunity. I can't go anywhere. I might as well work on this and partner with people who are doing awesome things. And then my brother kept pushing me, and here we are.
So tell me, how did it feel starting it?
Terrifying. I feel like I'm still there somewhere. It's scary. I've been a salary employee for forever. So one of the biggest changes for me was switching from, hey, you're good, you always make this much money, even though you're working 60 hours and you only make $2 an hour when you're a salary employee, you're still set. You have this set income, no matter what you do or don't do, you're good. And that's a different mindset. And so the mindset of shifting from, hey, I got this much money coming in all the time, it never changes, we're good, I can plan on that, to this consultant or entrepreneurial mindset, it is a shift. And I'm still working through that. I think that's been the scariest.
And during this shift, has your daughter noticed this shift and asked any questions about that? Oh yeah. Because my girls, the school that I was at for a long time before, they were there with me. I was running the school, they were at the school. So they were a part, they saw what I did. And to them, I had a tangible job. And so now all the time they're like, Mom, what do you do? I'm like, I don't know. I just hang out. And so they ask a lot of questions about, what do you do? And how can you do it from, they call it my headquarters, right? How can you do it from your headquarters without ever leaving? And that's different from what you were doing when you were physically at the school and they could see that I was doing something. And here they can't tell the difference. And so they ask a lot of questions about that. And my dad, when I was growing up, he's had the same job for 40 something years and he's always worked from home, even before it was cool. And so when people would ask me, what does your dad do? My response, even to this day, is, I don't know, he talks on the phone. So he talks on the phone. That's what he does. And so that's what my girls are like, what do? You talk on the phone and you do, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Okay. All right. Close. So from the heart, you're a teacher, I would say. Would you say that? What do you love most about teaching?
Oh man, I love when the students or the learners find a new concept. And then all you have to do is open it up and let them explore it. And it's so much about just coming alongside them and helping them to find what's their next interesting piece and just extending their curiosity instead of trying to pull them what you want to teach them, but instead following them or mentoring them to what they want to learn and instilling that joy of learning. That's really exciting. And then when they're like, oh, this is really interesting, and then helping them to dig into that in their own kind of way.
I love that face. I love that face. When you see that face and it's like, oh, you piqued interest.
Yes. And then you don't have to push it. It's not, come on, we have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do this. They're like, oh, can we do this? Or could we do that? What if we did it this way?
Yep. You basically led them to the water and said, hey, drink.
Oh yeah. And it's fun.
So what is the one resource you use the most often when teaching?
Ooh, I don't know if it's a corny answer, but it's really like the kids' curiosity, because we just follow that. I'm a big believer in emergent learning. So much of it is just following their interests and then creating the resources of a curriculum aligned with that. So if you're talking about a tangible resource, I don't know that I necessarily have one.
Okay. When we spoke before, you said that you homeschool your daughter.
Yes, I have one homeschooled and I have one who's in a alternative.
Okay, why do you homeschool that one daughter?
She has gone through many renditions of school, right? She's done private, she's done public, and she's done charter, and now she's homeschooling. And so my oldest, we're talking about here, she is a unique learner in that when she was in public, they put her in the GT program, right? When she was in charter, when they didn't have a GT program, they pretty much made her the teacher's aide. When she was in private, they had small class sizes and she was able to do really well there. I mean, so she is a self-driven learner and who has a high ability to take in information and use it and grow and use her curiosity. And she doesn't really need a teacher from the front. She just needs someone to come alongside her and say, hey, that's cool. What if we did that? And then let her go. And so between the unique mixture of what we've done this year, this is her first year homeschooling. Last year, she was an alternative education model school, and they met 3 days a week. And so then we did other things on the other days. So this is our first full year homeschooling. Short answer to that is we had a forced opportunity between COVID and the need for her to have an education model that really met her needs and let her excel at her own pace was what we needed. And that kind of created, and again, I lost my role. So we had a bunch of forced opportunities that just came together.
Good. All right. So while you're teaching her, right, or homeschooling, I would say, what aspects of personal finance do you teach her? Introducing the Dollars and Cents Bundle. This isn't just another boring financial guide. It's your secret weapon for raising financially smart kids. Inside this bundle, you'll get 3 powerful tools to make money lessons a breeze. First up, a kid-friendly budget sheet. It's the perfect way to help your child track their money, build healthy habits, and get hands-on experience managing their earnings. Next, you'll unlock the guide Money Mavericks, bite-sized wisdom for busy parents. Think of it as your quick start playbook, packed with expert-backed tips to help you teach your kids about saving, spending, and everything in between. And finally, there's my favorite part, interactive digital flashcards. These are perfect for teaching core money concepts in a way that's fun, engaging, and memorable for the whole family. Here's the best part. The Dollars and Cents Bundle is completely free. Yep, free. All you have to do is sign up and the tools are yours, delivered straight to your inbox. You owe it to your kids to give them the skills they need to succeed in life. The Dollars and Cents Bundle makes it simple, fun, and totally doable, no matter how busy you are. So, what are you waiting for? Make financial literacy a family adventure. Head over to show notes right now to grab your free Dollars and Cents Bundle link, or go to nurturingfinance.com and subscribe. Don't wait. Start your family's financial journey today.
So we do a project-based learning model with her. And what that means is we have the basis elements that she needs to learn, right? The foundational pieces. She needs to know how to multiply. She needs to know how to do that. But outside of that, everything else is exploratory. So when we were sitting down and saying, cool, what do you want your big projects to be this year that we would circle around? She said, I want to start a business. And I said, great, that sounds cool. I'm doing it. You might as well do it with me. And so in that, we decided that she partnered with a friend of hers. They created a little contract about their partnership and they went from there. And so through that, we've experienced all kinds of different pieces. She asked a lot of questions. We got some books. Like we bought I think it's an American Girl book, A Smart Girl's Guide to Money. We read through that and we're doing other pieces and she's doing her own research. But what it looks like in a scheduled manner is on Mondays, her and I and her friend meet and we do a strategic planning session. We talk about what have you done in your business so far? What are you planning to do this week? What have you accomplished and all of that? And in one of those meetings, they had to write a business plan for what they were doing. And they had to then present it to an investor, which was their uncle, and ask for the amount of money that they needed. And anyway, so we've introduced so many different concepts. I mean, she could accurately use ROI in a sentence, which is pretty fun for a 10-year-old.
Really? So how is she accepting those concepts? Is there any frustration on her behalf or? Because
I follow her, she's doing it really well because it's led by her. And I just say, hey, what do you think about that? She's doing really well with it. And because she's really interested in it. It was her idea to do it. And I followed her with it again. And I guess that's why it's so easy to do it with her because it's really interesting. And it's tangible. She gets to make money. Yep. So
when it comes to personal finance, what do you envision for her? Where do you see her?
I think in the biggest sense of it, I want her to have a healthy relationship with money. It's not as much to me about how much or how little she has, but more that she has a healthy relationship with it. She understands that it's a tool, but not
right.
It's not everything. that's really my hope, I guess, for both of my girls.
Tell me now, what about personal finance seems that is sticking with her right now?
I think she really is picking up that money is a tool and it's all about how you use it. And she's having to make those decisions, right? She has a savings account. She has a debit account. We use a program called Go Henry, where she has her own debit card and I monitor it from my phone, and she can make money for different things or she can spend money for different things. And she's having to really view it as a tool and not just this never-ending surplus of something that just appears there. She makes it, she spends it, she plans for it, which I think is helpful. You know, I mean, when I was a kid, I just assumed money was just there. You know, I mean, we didn't always have a lot of money, but it just was there. If we needed groceries, we just bought it. My dad had a debit card. It was like, oh, look, it works every time we use it. And so I don't know that I understood really what that meant, what a debit card represented and what a savings account was, and, you know, how money was, I guess, created into our family. And I feel like for her, through this experience and through her own natural curiosity and questions, she's understanding the cycle of money more than how we get it and how we spend it and what it looks like instead of just, oh, like, we always have
So
money.
wait, at what age did you introduce this debit card to her? She was 8? Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my other one was, so my youngest got one recently too, and she was 8. So 8 was within the age that
Oh, wow. Paint me that picture when you first started talking to her about it.
We always do. Everything is a learning experience, right? I'm an early educator. Everything is a learning experience. So we would go shopping and we would get groceries and we would talk about how are we going to pay for these and bring them home? And then, I don't know, you use that little card thing. Cool. What does the card look like? And so it was a natural part of our conversations that we were having day to day. And if it was, hey, we want to go to this Great Wolf Lodge. We love to go to Great Wolf Lodge. Cool. How are we gonna do that? What do we need to get there? And I think it was just the conversations. We just always have exploratory conversations with the topics. And as we were continuing to have those, then she started recognizing, oh, this card represents this money and the money comes from this place. And she was interested in it. So then I showed her the concept of what it would look like if you had your own debit card, because you get money from birthdays or this, and we would put it in this account. And we actually took her to the bank, and the bank manager that was there was really cool. They walked her around and let her see the vault, and she had a whole jar of coins. So we rolled the coins and took them in and started her bank account. And so I guess the introduction of all of it to her has just always been hands-on from the very beginning. Money was never this mystical, magical thing, but always this very tangible piece that we talked about just openly.
Do you remember her face, how she was when she was in the bank?
First she was like, what? Whose is that? And can we, how do we get some? Do the tellers own that money?
Right.
Like when people hands them money, do they get to keep it? No, man. If that was true, we would all be bank tellers. And I think there is this mystical piece to money, and the bank is overwhelming because I don't understand how that works. You mean everybody's money is here, and how do they know whose is who? She's very interested in all of that. It must have been maybe a year and a half ago, we went to a restaurant. It was just a small town, a local place. And we walked in and we're sitting down and she goes, what do you think the overhead is here?
Wow.
Let's think about what the overhead would be for a company like this. And so she has that natural inclination, but she was very amazed by it.
All right. Sounds good. I know you're teaching her, but it all can't be all good. What are the frustrations do you have teaching her?
What are you saying? One, there's two sides of it, like you're saying, right? I want her to be exploratory. I want the learning to be child-led. I want to follow her interests and things like that. But she also needs to understand certain pieces. And so not all learning can be all fun all the time. Sometimes you have to sit down and do some multiplication when you don't really want to do multiplication, even when we try to make it fun. So there are times where we have to fight that line in between all child-led and we also need to do this, So that's where it gets hard for me as a mom. And I think it's easier in a classroom because you're not as emotionally tied. But as a mom, it's you have to finish this. And so she will get something, work on it, and then get 75% done and be like, all right, I understand the concept. I get it. I don't really need to finish it to understand the whole thing. I'm done. We need to take it all the way to completion. And she's, but I already understand it. I understand this. And she can explain it back to me and say, this just happens and this happens and I understand this. And so I don't need to finish that paper or whatever because I get it. And part of me is she has a point. But the other part of me is I want her to take things all the way through to completion. And so she'll say, but if we're doing child-led learning, then I'm done. And I'm like, no, I still am your mentor in that. So we do, because she understands and she hears me talk about it all day, child-led learning and all those types of things, project-based, she can use that against me sometimes and then we get stuck there.
So when you her debit card, do you go with her apparently, and does she knows how to go through the motions? Do you like stand outside the bank or do you walk into the bank, or is it by ATM and you just watch her and let her? What is it?
Yeah, I let her do as much as she can do. So if we are walking into the bank and she's making a deposit, I'll stand back and she has to stay on the line and she has to talk to the teller and she has to submit her money in the deposit book and those types of things because it's her account, it's your responsibility. And so there's been times where I don't want to talk to the teller. Can you do it for me? Nope. Not my money, not my responsibility. And we've left and we've had to come back.
Start again.
Okay, I'm ready now. All right, cool. Let's do it again. Let me go to the bank. Luckily, there's one in every corner, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, she owns it. She has to own the process. And sometimes, it's a lot. And I don't force her to, you have to take your bank account or you have to do this, you have to do that. Because money is big. That can be a big responsibility and it can be really heavy. And so I want her to understand it, but I don't want her to be burdened by or have to carry the fear of not having enough and those types of things. So that's another one of those lines that we have to, tread in both sides, understanding it, but not feeling burdened or scared of it.
So let's talk about her business that she's looking to start. How's that coming along? Is it like really something she's interested in?
Yeah, and as with all 10-year-olds, I guess it fluctuates day to day, right? Some days she's, I'm all in, let's do this. And the next day she's, I just want to play Roblox. Okay. But she has a friend who she's doing it with, and that helps. They get on Zoom calls or they'll come into my office and say, I need to get some time on your calendar for a
oh, wow. She has
call.
A plan.
I'm like, okay. Yeah. And so luckily we're both nerds that way. So it works out. I'm like, excellent. I love strategy calls. So we'll do that. But it ebbs and flows. And they've done all pieces of it right now. They've done their business plan. They work on their website. They build flyers and they really want to sell something, and they like the concept of all of it. She's having a really hard time with keeping an inventory because they have to make the products that they're selling. So she'll want to sell it. She wants to create the website and the flyer and talk about ROI and think about their expenses and get the investment. But then I'm like, okay, well, now you have to make the whatever. And she likes the operations part of it, the strategy side. And she's like me. But then when she has to come and say, okay, now you have to make the bath bomb or whatever they're deciding. And she's like, oh yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, oh, cool, but you got to figure that out. Maybe you work that out with your partner. And she loves making bath bombs. So she handles the bath bombs and you handle
right.
The operations, right? Automate, delegate, do. Automate what can be automated, delegate what can be delegated, and do the parts that you love.
That sounds good. So let's talk about Leland growth. How do you implement finance when you're revamping a school or a company, charity, or any one of your customers?
I think so many times finance is, it's not essential for me when I go in and work with a school, but it is a effect. So if we're cleaning up their processes and we're automate, delegate, do, right? And everything's working faster, they're getting more kids enrolled, or they're able to complete tasks with less touches by people, then they're automatically retaining income or making more income, or they're more mission central, and they're losing all that fluff on the outside. And so it's always interesting to me that when I go into school, especially small businesses, ABA therapy centers, small private schools, some charitable startups, things like that, ed tech, and they're not always tying the end goal to the day-to-day. So we want to make this much money. Okay, how are you doing that on your day-to-day? And then I'll say, okay, well, you want to make this much money. So day-to-day, how many emails are you answering? And I'll say, the emails don't necessarily mean that we're going to make that money in the end. Like they do, because it's the small steps lead to the big goals. And so while I don't go in and focus on finances, when I go in and talk with businesses about efficiency or strategizing or setting goals, things like that, the finances always seem to be a bonus, if you will. Oh, we have more money, or we made more money, or look at all that money we were spending on this thing that we didn't need.
With you restructuring schools and businesses, what's the worst you've seen? And from that level, what level did you take them to? So
what you find a lot with educators or these type of education-related businesses, because they're beautiful, amazing people who just love kids and want them to grow and develop, and they have these passions, they're often come into the positions that they're in, especially in small businesses, because they were a teacher or they were a co-director or they did this, and then suddenly they find themselves as the director or the owner or the principal, and now they're responsible for all of these things that were not in the classroom. So they are passionate, educated, amazing people who have never really taken the time, typically, to figure out all the different pieces that come with being a CEO or whatever that side is. And usually what is their classroom experience is great. What they're doing with the kids is amazing. They're changing those kids' lives. They have all these amazing strategies in the classrooms, but it's not reflected in the operations or the administrative piece, just because that's not their passion. They're changing kids' lives. And so what I love, that's typically what I see. And it's really hard because the kids are experiencing this amazing thing, but the parents or anybody in the operations or administration side is not. They're experiencing struggle, frustration, time spent on ridiculous things. The parents aren't having the same experience that the kids are. So they might be losing parents or losing prospective parents because they can't get them through the initial experience with the school or the center or whatever to the classroom, which is where their strength is. So they're not seeing growth because their amazing bit is in the classroom, but they can't get them through the administration to the classroom because you have to go through the administration. And so that's what I do is say, hey, let's make your administration experience, your operations experience, your parent experience as amazing as your classroom experience is. Because then you're naturally going to be able to serve more kids because you're retaining more families or saving more money. So yeah, I usually see the same thing. They want to do amazing things. They are doing amazing things, but there's just very little in the operations. There's no standard operating procedures. There's no process flows and all of that. And so they get stuck in pieces.
Really? They don't have no standard operating procedures?
It's very, I'm sure there are, but in the places that I tend to work with, again, they're small businesses and things like that. They can't walk in and say, all right, here's my SOP. Cool. Or, hey, what's your database? Do you work everything inside of this hub, this portal? Do you use Teams, right? Microsoft Teams, and then everything's on SharePoint or everything is over here. It's, no, I have some things over here and something on that computer, and I think there's something over here, because they're flying the plane as they're building the plane most often. And so they just need someone to help them complete the build of the plane so they can continue flying the plane. And I worked with a school a couple of years ago, and they saw something over 40% increase in 1 year in their enrollment. And what they kept saying was, thank you, Chelsea. And I'm like, listen, I didn't change anything you're doing in the classroom. What you're doing is already amazing. You're already changing students' life. All I did was clarify your story. and clarify the way that parents can get from here to there. And I worked on their website and some other things with them. All I did was clarify the image that other people were experiencing, but I didn't change a thing that was going on in the classroom. They were already doing amazing things, which is my passion. I want to take those people who were doing these amazing things and let people know so they can change more, impact more families, more kids.
What is the biggest challenge you had to overcome in this journey?
With schools,
with the schools,
myself?
With your business and overall.
I think a lot of it, again, would go to mindset. If they've never used an SOP or never needed, quote unquote, needed this hub of information or things like that, they've been operating for 20 years. So we don't need that. I don't know that we want to spend our time creating an SOP with you. We really want to make sure our classroom experience is great. That mindset of making the investment in those types of things now, because they will expedite everything later. And so I guess the biggest frustration or the biggest hurdle would be them wanting or be willing to take away time from what they're working on day to day and investing it into these backlog things that will, have a long-term ROI.
Okay. So what is the best thing that has happened to you since you started?
I have met the coolest people. I have met people that are doing innovation in education that I wish existed, and turns out it does. And so that has been the coolest piece, is talking with these people and saying, oh my gosh, what you're doing is amazing.
It is.
That is amazing. And I love hearing that because it brings hope to me and what I want for my girls' education, what I want for everyone's education, the model as a whole. And there's people doing it. And I get to talk to them. So, that's all about me. That's my bonus. Is I just want to hear about it. I just want to talk about it. I think it's just really cool, the steps that people are taking.
I think what you're doing is very unique, and it's something that's needed out there. So, I think that's the best thing about it. That it's fun for you. You're going to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
What are your plans, your future plans for Leland Growth?
I always advise when I'm working with clients, hey, make sure we know our next 5 steps. That's what you need to know. And when I look into Leland Growth, I'm like, oh gosh, what are my next 5 steps? And so I'm failing on that part, I feel like. But it's really so new that it's all just coming together, and I'm finding, oh, I like this, I'm gonna keep this. Oh, I don't really like that, I'm gonna push that back out. And so it's so evolving right now that I'm still trying to figure out what those pieces are, because for a long time I did web design for companies, just UX design. And I liked that, but I don't know that's my long-term, role that I'm going to have. And so generally speaking, my hope for Leland Growth as it grows, or as I hope that it grows, is just that I can impact the most education innovators in the most precise manner, and whatever that is. One of my big projects that I just recently took on was creating a pre-service training for early educators. And especially in Texas, if you're going to be an early educator and a licensed center, it's required that you have this 8-hour pre-service training, but they charge for it. And so it can be up to $60 and above dollars, which is expensive for someone going into early education because early educators don't make a lot of money. And so I want to create one that's very low cost or free so that people can get in that door. And that's different from the consulting piece that I'm doing. So that's a long answer.
No, it just sounds like you have a lot on your plate.
But I really just want to try different pieces and then see what works and what really helps and move forward with it. There's a movie that I think it's a Disney movie, maybe Pixar, I don't know. But it's called Robots.
I saw a piece of it.
It had Robin Williams as the... Okay. And so the big fat robot guy, the one that was leading the whole thing, I can't remember his name, but his whole quote was, see a need, fill a need. And so that's the road that I'm traveling with Leland Growth, is as I'm talking with educators and people that are doing things, I want to see and respond to their needs instead of setting my own agenda. I want to be accessible and flexible enough to go, oh, you know what? I can fill that need for you if I can. So more of a see a need, fill a need outlook rather than these are the only three things that I do, if
does.
that makes sense.
All right, Chelsea. Let the fans know, the listeners, and your potential customers. Where can we find you? Where can we go to see what's going on?
LinkedIn is my favorite. So if you're on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. That's my favorite one. And of course, I have a website, leylandgrowth.com. And I have a Facebook and an Instagram, but they're not really my favorite ones. I'm mad at that. But LinkedIn and my website are really my best places to find me.
All right. I want to thank Chelsea Robberson for coming on to the show today. So, what are some of the things that you could have taken from that interview? One, when one door closes, you might have to make another door for yourself. And that's what Chelsea did. She carved herself a new path, and her daughter was right there. Things go on. Nurture your children's early endeavors. You just don't know what type of fruit that is going to bear from what your child is trying to do. And if you don't know what they're trying to do, trust in your good old Google and find out. Help them out. If not, ask a friend. But just don't let them sit there and feel like they're all alone in their search in trying to get what they need done. 3, let them fall forward and let them learn from it. As you can see with Chelsea's daughter, she was intimidated going into that bank, but guarantee you at this point now, it is a piece of cake for her. Now, one thing you can do to help the show out is if you're on iTunes, rate the show. If you're not on iTunes, go to iTunes and rate the show. But secondly, subscribe. Subscribe.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Raising Financial Freedom, the podcast. Stay connected with us directly through raisingfinancialfreedom.com. You can also join the discussion on social media, which you can also find links on our website. If you would like to speak with us, please send us an email through info@raisingfinancialfreedom.com. And as always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to stay fully up to date. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
Before you go, I wanted to tell you about a new option called Fan Mail, which uses text messaging to give our listeners the ability to text our show directly. There is a link in every episode at the top that will say, "Send us a text." You can use that link to text the show. When a listener clicks the link in our episode description, a new text message will open on your device directly to the show. It's that easy. So tell me what you think, what else you want to hear out of the show, or simply your thoughts on that episode you just heard.